Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's someone that's no one here today, and today we're back for another dream journal. And this one's a dream. It was, pretty straight up weird. I mean, that says without going, I think, at this point. But it's cool. There was a lot of crazy shit that went down, and it was kind of broken up into, I want to say two parts, kind of like three, but not really. Uh, because it is connected, and I do remember a good portion of this, and I'm going to explain this the best I can. It was kind of long, not super long. I felt it was long at least because I woke up like once or twice during the night and went back to the exact same dream. But without further ado, let's just jump right into this. So I remember the first thing was I was at school, and I was my age now, but for some weird ass reason, I was still in middle school. I had the same teachers and all that, and we were just ending the semester, and we got our report cards. Now I had this one teacher, Mr. Schultz, who taught us U.S. history. He was a pretty cool teacher. I passed his class with an A, but for whatever reason, when I got my report card, it was 17%. Uh, Fuck that. And I'm just looking at this shit thinking, what the fuck, man? How the hell did this happen? So I figured out I forgot to turn in the final paper for his class. And like in real life, this shit would never happen. Even if I did forget to, like, there's no way he would fail me that bad or just fail me in general. Like, he was not that type of teacher. But it was the end of the semester, grades were already entered, and I had no way of getting my grade back up. So I just got mad as fuck at the school and myself, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just have to take summer school for it. But since the school semester ended, Evan, the homie Evan, he wanted to turn up. And Drew and Tyson also do show up in this story. And I wasn't about to let this stupid grade throw my mood down, and I just tried to act, play it off cool. So we were planning to go to a party later that day. Evan gave me a prescription bottle now. At first I had no clue what it was, but it turned out to be MDMA. It had the name on the bottle and the full chemical name on it with like 100 small pills in there. I don't know how this shit happened because, that you'll never see some shit like this today at least, since, it's fucking illegal. But I'm just kind of like, fuck it, man, stashed away in my bag, just like all casual, like. So my grandma picked me up from school that day, and it was just me and her in the car. And my grandma, she wanted to know what my report card was, and I just told her straight up how I failed. And she got pissed. What the fuck are you doing failing classes and shit? You trying to be a failure in life? And like she just starts to roast me for all this shit for failing, but I was trying to be all badass about it in my response, and I just smacked my lips and said, "Grandma, I don't give a fuck about school. That shit's retarded." And again, something I would never say in real life, jeez. But we just went at it like this in the car on the ride home, and it was dark out, like a storm was coming. And you know how it's like normally sunny as fuck before a big ass storm and shit? It was like a mixture of the two blended. Now, on the way home, there was this roadblock with like 6 police cars, and my grandma and I just shut up. Now, there was some type of shit going down by this store, and police made us pull through the parking lot, and there was this guy around his 30s who came to talk to us. He was being cool and asked us, how we were doing, but didn't really tell us what was going on, and all of a sudden, he said they had to search the car. Like, this is a major bullshit, man, because remember, I just had picked up that MDMA from Evan, and it was just me and my grandma trying to get home, and he tells us this shit. And I wasn't about to argue because, that would just kind of raise suspicions more. The pills were in a prescription bottle anyways with my name on it, so I just betted my chances. So I get out, he searches my body, nothing on me, tells me to get in the back seat for some reason while he searched the car. Of course he finds the prescription bottle. "What's this?" the police officer asked me. "Oh, that's just my prescription I take." I told him, hoping he would just pass it off. My name's on there. And the officer read it, but read it some more and read the chemical name too, and somehow he knew it like off the top of his head. The prescription was issued that day too, that's the thing. And he's like, "You take MDMA?" the cop asked. "It says there should be about 100 pills in here, and I only see about 80. Where are the rest?" I didn't even see it myself, but Evan probably took some out. All the while this was happening, my grandma was hawking me down. There were a lot of things I could have made up and said, but I just said, I took them. "You took 20 pills today," the cop asked, and he just busted out laughing like I was an idiot trying to play him. And this went on for minutes. I was trying to be cool while this dude was laughing his ass off, but eventually after like 2 minutes of him laughing, something else caught my attention from the outside. The other cops were shouting and stuff, and something was going down. I didn't see what it was at first, but I just felt danger. The cop turned and saw, "You two, get out of here." We get back in and we book it. Now, I don't know how to explain how this happened, but one moment, we're pulling out of this parking lot, and the next moment, we're in a city in a U-Haul truck, like a fat-ass one, like it was a SWAT truck. And my grandma was driving, and we were just trying to get away from whatever was happening. I remember we weren't the only ones on this truck either. There was like this doctor in the back, and like he waved to me, like a young doctor in school or something. And it wasn't like he's a evil entity or anything in this dream. It's just kind of like he was just there for whatever reason. But I soon figured out what the hell was going on. There was some infection going on or something like that. If you ever seen World War Z, it was pretty much like that. The way zombies run, like they're on fucking cocaine and shit. And they were chasing us up this parking lot. And since the U-Haul truck is slow as a bastard, they eventually got on and climbed up top. "Go shoot 'em off," my grandma told me and handed me a pistol. Now, it wasn't just these zombies, it was like a mixture of creatures. If you ever played Doom, it's kind of like that. But I got up on top and started shooting these assholes off, but there was just way too many, and they eventually got me. And this is where shit did turn more into like a video game. I had to be revived like we were playing co-op zombies and shit. My grandma was still being an asshole to me the whole time too. And she's like, "What the fuck? You suck? You already died?" Like, bitch, come up here and shoot these motherfuckers then. And that doctor or nobody came to revive me because they didn't want to die to the zombies either. So I just bled out, and just like that, I respawn back in the U-Haul truck, 100% healthy. And we keep driving until there's basically nowhere else to go. So my grandma drives off this parking lot, and we're like 10 stories high. And she was trying to get us to the next building over, but there was one of those creatures from Doom that pop up. It wasn't necessarily a straight up creature. It was kind of like a cyber demon, but mixed with one of the pinkies, and it was anticipating us. I'll probably put that up on screen right now. But it let out this loud ass roar, and we just drove straight into it. And that's kind of where shit ends. I'm guessing we die or something, but by end, I don't mean the dream ends, but that day ends. I wake back up in my bed thinking that shit was just a dream. I don't wake up in real life, I wake up in my dream, thinking I had a dream in my dream. I expect it to be a new day, but the same events happen. I go to school even though I'm supposed to be out. I get my report card, seeing the shitty grade again, and I know, like, this is some bullshit. This just happened yesterday in my dream or whatever. So I go see my friends and try to figure out what the hell happened. It turns out I'm not the only one. "The same shit happened to you?" Evan asked. "Yeah, man," I said. Drew and Tyson also noticed it. We all did. And our squad, this dream squad, I guess, wasn't that huge, but, big enough. The homie Evan, Tyson, Drew, I don't know if I introduced David, but another friend of mine who's in there, and me. So 5 dudes, and we all went through the same shit. Like the zombies, the creatures from Doom, we all saw it. But we all came to the conclusion that the day was repeating itself. If you ever saw the movie Groundhog Day, it's basically like that. So I don't really know how many times the day actually went on repeat, but the 5 of us knew what was going on and no one else did. We didn't know how to stop it. "It has to be a message for us, like a message from God or the universe," David was saying. "Something wants us to stop these zombies from coming." This is eventually how we saw it, but what the hell could the 5 of us do to stop an entire apocalypse? We were just 5 teenagers just trying to enjoy our lives. We weren't qualified to handle this bullshit. So we figured we needed some help. But we were going to sound like crazies to anyone we told, of course. "I got an idea," Evan told us. "Let's go to that party." That was the original plan in the first place. "You just want to turn up, huh?" Drew asked. "I mean, we all end up dying and the day resets after like it's some dream. Might as well go out having a good time, right?" Evan explained to us. And it turned out that way at first. We went to this party. The first night at the party was a fairly good time. It wasn't like a crazy get fucked up party, but more like a social party. Like there were more adults there and shit, but it was the only party that we knew was going on. We still managed to have a good time, and I don't remember us dying like over and over, but we acknowledged that we did, and that's how the day would reset. So eventually, with many nights of partying, we figured out who was running these parties. It was the cartel. Pretty crazy. And we saw an opportunity right there. Hey, maybe these guys can help us stop the zombie apocalypse. Now, Evan, he had the most connections. He was actually, I guess, the only one out of us who looked like a true Mexican. But I remember it was basically like a straight up scene out of Narcos. Evan's just like, leave it to me. He walks off and tries to talk to him while the rest of us just go off and mingle. And I remember sitting at a dinner table with these two other guys at the party who I didn't know, but we were all cool talking to each other. And out of nowhere, I remember I started to eat these seeds. I couldn't even remember like what they were or where I got them. And one of the guys at the table, he asked me, what are those? And I'm like, it's a drug, a nootropic. And the guy's like, get your brain working like crazy, huh? And he made like this explosion motion with his hands. And I just agree with him. And sadly to say, that story kind of drifts off here. Or that dream, that is. Like, it turns into a complete different direction. This part was super interesting with the zombies, the day repeating, the cartel, all this shit going on, but the dream never concludes to see if we actually save the planet. So what happens next is just very different, but I still have the same mindset. I was with Evan and his younger sister Grace, who was a couple years younger than us. Evan and I knew that the day was still on repeat, and we're just kind of living our lives, so I figured that we still haven't figured out how to fix the problem. We ended up going to Walmart for some snacks, and I remember looking in the candy aisle, not being able to find shit I wanted. I wanted those Starburst gummies, but I was finding all these bullshit Starburst, like the original ones that weren't the gummies. And Evan's just like, come on, man. And I'm just like, 1 second, bro. And the store was backwards as hell. They had like Starburst in every other aisle, and like just different flavors for each aisle. It was stupid, but I ended up with this garbage kind I didn't even want, and we ended up going back to the car, and for whatever reason, we had 2 office chairs with us, and we tried to fit them in the back seat. Now, Evan's car, definitely not that big, plus we had his sister with us, and so basically we had no room in that bitch. We got the first one in the car pretty easily, but the second one was the problem. I had to put my seat like all the way up, and it barely got in. And I just end up hopping in the back with his sister and shit, and she's like sitting on my lap. And somehow, when we pulled off, one of the chairs fell out, and like we didn't even notice until we were like 5 minutes away on the highway. And I'm like, bro, we have to go get it. Fuck that chair, just leave it now, Evan said back. Bro, you know how much those things cost? And I just kept telling him, and like he did not want to go back. And then Grace takes my side, and she's like, he's right, they do cost a lot. And this actually makes Evan turn around. And I remember this dude was driving like a maniac. We were like by the ocean for some weird reason, and we almost pulled off in there. But eventually we made it back, and there were some people about to take it. 2 girls and this guy were about to put it in their car when we pulled up. We stopped them, but then we didn't. Like, we told them, and they were going to leave it, but for some reason, they still took it, and we ended up going to, like, this mansion. These girls were ridiculous, too, oh my. But for some weird-ass reason, we were by a pool, and they tried to use the office chair as a floaty, and yeah, that shit just sank to the bottom right away, and we just laughed at them. But then it gets even weirder and more random. For some reason, it was like we were in some weird-ass porno, and I was filming this shit. But before, like, any sex or anything like that happens, I woke up, and this is where the dream ends. Yeah, pretty weird, pretty random, but I guess cool recap and all that. So, I hope you guys did find this interesting and entertaining. Let me know if you did below. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Follow the socials, subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you liked the video. It's been someone that's no one. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.